All right, good morning, everybody. So as we continue to move down the journey of growing our businesses, I want to keep throwing out things that will help us grow. And and, so we do that. And the biggest way we can do that is by sharing experiences and stuff like that. So starting next week, I want to make this more interactive and really hear. Obviously, successes are awesome because we always want to hear people's successes, but I also want to hear challenges because everybody has individual challenges, individual conversations with people, and I want to be able to. I love walking around with Tannen. Hey, Tannen, where are we going? Uh, and if we can take those individual situations, they're going to relate to all of us because we all have similar things that are going on a regular basis. So today we're going to talk about scripts, which is what I promised from last week, and just the words to use. So this isn't going to. This will probably be about 30 minutes. And by the way, my goal is to keep these to about 30 minutes. I know you're all busy, and by the way, the reason why I use my headset is so it records decently instead of instead of not recording decently. So I'm going to share my computer and go into this screen real quick. So obviously, what you say and how you say it is going to make the difference on whether you're successful or not. That's pretty easy to understand, right? So I've been using several things. I've taken some of these things from other people that they're doing. I've talked to Brent about it. Talked to Jay Kinder about it. I've talked to a lot of people because I'm trying to get the lingo down myself too to be as good as I can. But some of the stuff in here is stuff I've learned over by trial and error over the past 2 years now. So part of the thing is you always want to introduce people to watching the video. That's at least my belief. Because and I'll give you an example. I had an interview last night and in-person video, and they did not watch the video. So that's a whole new challenge when they haven't watched the video because it's like talking from scratch and having to describe the whole thing. It was an hour and 45-minute meeting, which is way longer than I like to be because I try to keep my one-on-ones to a half hour or so. So one of the things about this is making sure that you're not talking too much. And we've talked about that before. So first line is, I don't have much time, Mike, but I've always respected you and how you do your business. Let me ask you a question. If I show you a way you could add another revenue source to your real estate business, would you be open to it? Pretty simple, right? And most people are going to say yes. Now, some people say, what are you talking about? I say, honestly, I don't have time to talk at the moment, but you popped into my head and I wanted to send this to you. So if I send you a short link to a short video that explains what we're talking about, would you be willing to look at it? And generally they'll say yes. Right? After they've watched the video. So if I can get one of my top guys in the company on a phone call, would you be open to learning more? Really simple, right? None of this is rocket science. This is all really simple stuff. And the key to this is the reason why we're doing this quickly is we don't want them to start asking a whole bunch of questions, because the reality is if you start getting a whole bunch of questions, that means you're going to get brought into a conversation, which is going to be more challenging for you to not tell them stuff. Does that make sense? Just shake your heads if it makes sense. There you go. That way I feel like I'm actually talking to people. So the other thing is, and I've used this before, and I like this one, and this is really good if you're fairly new. If I send you a video about this company that I just joined, would you be willing to poke holes in it for me and tell me if I'm crazy? Sometimes it's easier, and I just did this with a guy recently. I sent them the video. I said, look, I know this is probably not for you, but I respect your opinion. I'd love you to watch this video, give me your feedback, and poke some holes on it for me. They're really simple, right? And so I'm not, and if they're going to help you, and you could say, like I usually use when I'm doing my trainings, I could really, really use your help. Could you take a video for me and take a look at this video as a friend and let me, see if you can poke holes in it. I find when you ask people for help, they will genuinely help you. And if they watch the video, there's two types of people, right? Some people are going to watch the video and they're not into it. They're not going to see it. They're not going to get it. And then other people are going to watch it and they're going to get it instantly. I'll give you an example of that. I had a woman come in on Monday. She saw my 3.5-minute video. That's all she saw. And she said as soon as she watched that video, she immediately knew that she was joining. Broker, 14 agents could relate to my story tremendously, right? So I guess the point of that is I didn't even have to go anywhere with that. So she got it right away. Whereas some people are just not going to get it. And what I've learned over the past couple of years, I'm not begging people to join because A, if I beg them to join, they're probably going to leave, right? And two, it's too much work. You know, if I want to be honest, I don't want to work that hard. I want to present this to people, and as Rob Flick says, and I love this line, we're looking for people that are looking for us. So when I talk to people, I'll give you another example. I had a call this morning with somebody, and I don't know who that water is coming from. Okay. I talked to this lady this morning who I connected with on LinkedIn, and she said, I'm totally not interested in switching brokerages, so I don't really want to talk about that. I go, that's great. I actually reached out to you just because I want to see if I can help you in your business. So we talked for about 20 minutes, and she says, you really didn't pitch me, did you? I said, no, I told you I wouldn't do that. And she says, all right, well, now I'm curious. Tell me about it. And so anyways, we have a follow-up call tomorrow. I sent her the videos earlier, and she's, I honestly, based on the conversation, the quick conversation we have, I think she's very open to it now. So even though people are against it, if you go in by contribution, you guys all know me, I live by contribution, right? So if you go by contribution, you tend to be able to get a better response than verbally attacking people, right? So if you're asking people for their help, your question, Ted?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what kind of things did you talk to her about?
I just asked her about her business. Tell me a little bit about your business and how's it going, and how many transactions do you get, and how many leads do you how many sales you're getting a year, and how are you getting your sales, and
that was your opening conversation with a kind of a cold call on LinkedIn? Well,
my opening conversation, which I'll send out to everybody, is really, I've been in the business for a long time, and I'm trying. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm looking to give back to the community. And if you're interested in talking about your business and how I can help you grow your business, let me know. And I'm getting a huge response from that, actually more than I can handle. So I actually I stopped it for a little bit because I've got to catch up. I've got about 10 or 15 people now that want to talk to me, or that I'm talking to. So it's been a really cool way of reaching out to people, but it's all by contribution. Our conversation started with, it's always great to know other people, get to know other people, right? And now I know you live in near Palm Beach, so now I have somebody to send referrals to in Palm Beach, and now you have somebody to send referrals to in Brevard County, right? So it's all about contribution. And I literally didn't bring up EXP because she told me in our initial email back and forth that I don't want to be pitched about EXP. I said, I'm not doing that. This is just about getting to know each other. And then she asked me about EXP, right? So that's happened several times now where I've really led by helping people in their business, and then that's turned into a conversation about EXP. And I'll throw in things like, one of the reasons I switched to EXP was it allowed me to do X, right? Little, very, very subtle, not saying join EXP. And what's happened most of the time is I'm getting people to ask me about EXP. I love that. That is so much easier than me saying, hey, you want to join EXP? So anyways, once you've got a commitment, they'll watch the video. Great. When would you watch it by? And holding that day. Okay, so if I called you after 5 p.m. tomorrow, you'd have already watched it by then, right? Get that commitment. We talked a little bit about that last week because you want to make sure they watch it. And obviously, from my experience so far, about 50% will actually watch it, right? And about 50% won't, right? Hold on one sec. Greg asked me to turn his video back on, but I don't know if I know how to do that. Greg, I don't know how to turn your video back on.
I can't turn it on from here. It says you have control over it.
Oh, okay. Oh, I figured it out.
Nod my head if you can't turn it on.
I got it. I figured it out. Nope, that didn't let me do it. All right, listen. Sorry, guys. It lets me mute you. Yeah, I don't know how to undo it, Greg. Sorry. So I'll pretend that you're nodding your head. Anyways, does that make sense? Very simple, very easy, just a few words, and then you get there. So once they've watched the video, there's two different people, right? There's people that are have been with EXP and people that are new to EXP. And this is the words. It's really so. John, I'm glad you're interested in EXP. Now, I'm pretty new to EXP, and because I respect your time and expect you want the most accurate information from the best source, I'm working with one of the top guys in the company. He knows how to the big money is being made here. You'll love him. He's fun. He's easy to work with, but most importantly, he generally wants you to help you win. If I get him on the phone, would you be open to talking to him? Very simple. Now, do you have to do this word for word? No. But internalize these things so they're just coming to you simply. One thing I've learned about scripts, if it sounds like you're reading like I just did, it doesn't sound good. It sounds like you're reading, right? Think about those telemarketing calls you get. Hi, my name is Bill. Do you have a MasterCard? Right? And then they talk for the next 27 minutes. I try to keep my talking to about 10 seconds when I'm talking, right? Each time. Unless I have too many cups of tea, and I think I'm on my 8th cup of tea this morning so far. So when I get to 10, it's like, I start going really fast. Okay. So if you're a new agent, this is really easy. If you're a new agent to the company, not a brand new agent, because you're just telling them that you're relatively new and you don't really know the information. If you're not a new agent to the company, you've been around like me for a couple of years or 6 months or a year, John, I'm really glad you're interested. As you know, I'm really busy selling homes, and I respect your time, and I expect you want the most accurate information. And then the exact same thing from there. So one of the reasons why I like saying I'm really busy selling homes is because I want them to know that you're realtors. We're realtors first, and then we're introducing people second, right? So I want them to know that that's what you're doing for a living is you sell homes. You're really busy. And when you do that, that's going to be a lot more disarming than, than not doing that, if that makes sense. Any questions about that? No, pretty easy, right? And that's what I've learned about this is we make this way more complicated than it is. This is not rocket science. This is so easy if you follow the plan. If you go off the plan, it's not so easy.
Can you send this to us too, Mitch?
Yeah, I'll email this out as soon as we're done to everybody. All right. So Facebook Messenger. Hey, Bill, been a while. How's business going? Business is great. How about you? Great. Not sure if you know, I joined EXP a while ago. It's been amazing. Have you heard of us? You left RE/MAX? I didn't leave RE/MAX, obviously. I thought you were there forever. Yeah, I love RE/MAX, but this is the best opportunity I've ever seen for my family. You should check it out. I'm pretty happy where I'm at. These are typical conversations, by the way. I get that, but there's no way I could do what I'm doing now at RE/MAX. I'm making more money earning stock and earning revenue from people I've introduced to the company. You should really check this out and let me know what you think. Really simple, right? And that's a typical conversation. And I do that on Messenger, probably not religiously enough, but I get on Messenger a little bit and do that here and there. And I've had great results from that. I have a guy from Idaho getting ready to join. And that's how I reached out to him. I haven't talked to him in a few years. If you've talked to him recently, it doesn't matter. It's just the same conversation. Just changed the wording. Obviously, they're not going to say, if you didn't work at RE/MAX, they're not going to say that. But pretty typical conversation right there. These are other things that I say. And you might have heard me say these before, but they're always worth reiterating. I do this one. I did this last night in my meeting. And I think that really, I think when they realize that you're not making a whole lot of money off of them, it kind of changes the whole concept too a little bit. So I say, here's the deal. The most I can earn from you from joining EXP is $2,800 a year if you cap. It doesn't change my life at all. However, this can totally or completely change your life. Very powerful, very simple, very powerful. And then this is how I talk about rev share. If you introduce 2 people a year to EXP over the next 3 years, and they just introduce just one over those 3 years, that's up to $36,000 a year in residual income. What would $3,000 a year, $3,000 a month do in changing your life? Again, for almost every realtor I know, that's a life-changing amount of money. If I'm talking to someone that I feel is a little more advanced, I don't know if that's the right word, with being politically correct, because I know in America we got to be politically correct. Totally not my style. If you introduce just 3 people this year and 3 people next year, and you get really, really good at it, and the 4th year, the 3rd year you introduce 4 people, and then your only job now is to teach those 10 people to do exactly the same thing, that's up to $348,000 in residual income. Pretty amazing, right? And then I say, and that's of course if they all cap. Now we know they're not all going to cap, but $175,000 a year doesn't suck, right? I don't always use the word suck, but sometimes I do. Any questions on that one? Pretty simple, right? All of these are simple. Yes, I'll definitely email all this stuff to you guys. I'm going to start doing, going back to doing conference calls shortly, which will be group conference calls. So you can invite anybody to the conference call. And I'm going to go over EXP, but it's not going to be a full EXP explain. I'm going to try to keep them to about 15 or 20 minutes, unless there's lots of questions. But it'll be more of an opportunity to ask questions. So I'm going to want the people to have watched the video already and then come in with their questions. I'll talk a little bit about my story, which is how that works all the time, and then open it up for questions from either you, and I might need your guys' help to throw a question out there to get the ball rolling, right? Because sometimes you need, sometimes it's funny when you do these type of events and you say, does anybody have a question? And I sit there go, hi, because nobody asks the question. Say that when I do my webinars and people can't see me, I actually write down about 5 questions. So I can say, oh, here's a question, right? And that always turns into 15 questions after that. So I could really use your help on that. So anyway, so this is a question if you're a new agent. Hey, Bill, it's Mitch. Look, I don't know if you knew this, but I needed to change. So I've been investigating an opportunity to take my real estate business and income to the next level. I ran across this really sharp guy, and I know you guys can question whether I'm sharp or not, who's been tremendously successful. He's working with a highly disruptive real estate brokerage, and you were the first person I thought of. He's doing a private conference call whenever. If I could get you the link to join, would you be willing to jump on and give me your feedback? Pretty simple, right? All these are really simple. And I can tell you just on stats that if I have 20 people signed up for something, 50% will show up. Even with this, right? I think we have 16 or 18 people in this group. And last week we had 9, this week we have 8. 50%, right? It's just the way it works. The next one is, I want to talk about, and this is my last couple of slides, and I'll open up to any questions. Look at that, good time. Is objections. And what I want to do, after I go over my objections, I'd love to hear if you guys are having any objections and what they are so I can answer them or somebody else can answer them. Again, my goal for this meeting every week is not to sit here and be to talk for a half hour. It's for us to collaborate together, right? But the number one thing I hear all the time is I'm really happy where I'm at, right? That's the number one thing. So you know what? I was really happy also. However, my family comes before anything else. And after I watched the video in this company, I had to make the change. You really owe it to yourself and your family to check it out, right? Really simple. And if they don't, great, good luck. Bye, right? I don't get into a whole lot of stuff. If they're not willing to invest 30 minutes of their life to check out something that could change their life, you can't really beat that, right? This is one of my favorite ones is no, right? I've gotten that. No, leave me alone. So you are saying no to something you have no idea what you're saying no to. I contacted you because to me, I've always respected you as a realtor and a business person, and I thought you would get this. So take care. Now, a lot of times when I've had this, and this has happened, is to say, all right, well, tell me a little more about it. All right, well, honestly, it's a visual. Let me send you this video for 30 minutes. And I know it's changed my life and several of my agents. Let me, take a look at it, and then we'll talk tomorrow. So no never means no, right? We've been in sales for how many years? No means not at the moment. And not at the moment means maybe. And maybe means okay, right? So you never really know the answer. Another one, I have too much going on right now. And I hear this especially with my agents in the cold regions, like people that live in cold places, because like right now is a busy time of year, right? For in places like Massachusetts and stuff like that. But it's not as busy of a time of year. It's busy for us all year round here in Florida. But people that are slammed and they only have a 6-month or 7-month or 8-month window of business, it's a little more challenging for them to switch, especially if they're highly successful agents. So I have too much going on right now. I understand that. We all have a lot going on. However, there's never a good time to make a change. The next thing you'll know, 2 years go by, and you'll miss the most important opportunity of your life. Very simple, right? And this is done really well. I'm working with an agent up in Massachusetts right now. That was the conversation we had. Greg, can you mute your mic, Greg? I got him. I muted him. See?
Sorry?
Oh, never mind. I said the mute. You had the music. Your music was in the background. Thank you. So I'm working with this woman in Massachusetts right now, and that was her first thing. Well, I'm too busy. I'm too busy. And when I showed her just from a commission standpoint that she's going to make $94,000 extra a year, forgetting about stock and rev share, $94,000, and she was interested. She does $450,000 a year in GCI, and she takes home $330,000. And so just without talking about rev share and all this other stuff, she's going to make, actually it's more than that because I didn't even count the Icon agent. I told her $94,000 more a year with us. She listened to that, right? Because right now she's on a 75% split. So she goes, I'm on 75%. I said, well, no, you're on 69%. She goes, no, I'm 75%. I said, no, you're 69%. You pay 6% franchise fee, right? So I got her at least listening, having a conversation about doing it now, not waiting till the end of the year. She still hasn't done it. It's been about 30 days, but she's in my campaign to keep in touch with. This is one of my favorite ones. I hear this. I've already talked to somebody about EXP. I know everything about EXP. Really? What do you know? And what I find is they've never watched a video and they don't really know anything about anything. This is another one that comes up all the time. These next two are very, very, all the time. I know EXP. It's just one of those pyramid schemes like Amway, right? Well, it's basically the same model as KW, the biggest real estate company in the world. So would you consider them a scam? Right? Just that's the only thing we can compare to that and exit to a degree, right? And then this is my favorite one. I love this one. I've been watching his stock and it's not doing very well. And I always said, well, we're a small cap stock, and small cap stocks go up and down. How's your stock at Remax doing? The Remax gave you doing? Because the reality is, we know that nobody's going to be giving them any stock at Remax or Century 21 or any of these other places, right? So when you have that conversation, it makes them stop and think. And I did a spreadsheet, which when I send this out, I'll send it to all of you guys. I did an awesome spreadsheet on stock and how that equates to somebody. So, for instance, the girl I met last night does $10 million a year in sales, right? So that $10 million, she would be an Icon agent. And if she became an Icon agent and did the 5% thing, she would have at the end of 5 years $132,500 in stock. Think about that. If she didn't do it, she has nothing in 5 years. Pretty simple, right? I say that a lot today. Pretty simple, right? So that's all I have for you as far as scripts. I don't want to get this stuff complicated because if we can do too much stuff on these calls, it's going to be too much. But I really want to know if you have any questions, you have any objections you're having right now, and I can answer those for you too. You're muted. You said say something, Tanny, you're muted. I'm going to get rid of this sheet real quick. Let me end the share here so I can get back.
Well, I'm just trying to think of what questions to ask. So our group, Dan and Rob and the few people underneath us, we're going to start doing lunch and learns in person weekly, just like the Funks do. And I talked to Jeff Funk about it a little yesterday, and I went in and sat in on their lunch and learn so I can really get down, what else he adds to it beyond just the presentation.
Sure.
My big questions are inviting agents. I feel like I don't know the right way to invite them. Mm-hmm. Is it to? And I guess I like your scripts, and I think that's what I'll use.
Yep.
To start that conversation. And I think that's where I was struggling before, is even just how to start the conversation. But I like the scripts, and I think if I stick with that.
Right. So, Greg, are you still there?
Yeah, I am, even though you can't see me.
Yeah. Will you do me a favor? And because you do a great job of your lunch and learns, getting people there. Will you just tell Tannen and the group here what you say to people because you're calling people?
You. So what I do is I work the phones, and I on Thursday I have my lunch and learn every Friday. Pat Hayes kind of encouraged me to do it when he told me that his first 3 lunch and learns nobody showed up. But I always get stressed. I try to get 15 or 20 people there, and I've never had less than 15. I really call people that I know, and I've started inviting influencers. somebody that I know respects me, but is not in the business, but knows realtors. And that's helped me quite a bit, because they'll go, you also should invite so-and-so. So there's no easy way. And Mitch, you were really right. The other party that's having the lunch and learns same time as mine are they get 1 or 2 people to show up.
Right.
So now they're starting to come to mind. I don't like to have the lunch and learns for the first meeting with somebody. I really like them to come to feel the energy with other EXP agents, which is going to lead me to my most important comment that I was giving to this guy from the state of Washington yesterday. That was about EXP. If you've got people in your downline and in your team, you got to get buy-in from them. And Mitch does that with his team. I still am running I don't have a big downline. And my downline, they don't want to do talent attraction. And there's always some excuse, just like Mitch says, even half of those people only show up. My dog ate my homework kind of excuses. So you really got to get some. Lately, at the meeting we had the 220 last week, I met some other EXP agents. I said, listen, you work with me. Maybe I'll do the presentations, but you take control of one lunch and learn, and somebody else takes control of another one, so that they're responsible for getting the cheeks and seats. Right. A lot of times I'll have 15 or 20 people, but only 4 or 3 prospects. Right. And none of the prospects are new to me if I invited them. I'd rather have a one-on-one first and then go, come to this luncheon. You'll meet other EXP people and find out how they're doing.
Yeah. And there are a couple of things that I've learned over doing this. So one of the things, and by the way, Tan, next Wednesday, I'm doing a lunch and learn in Titusville. So if you guys want to come, I will get you the details. So one of the things that I've learned when I'm talking is I always use the words, we're having a small lunch and learn.
Yeah, that's great.
So if only 2 or 3 people show up, it's a small lunch and learn, right? If 15 show up, it's still a small lunch and learn. So it's about expectations, right? So I'll give you an example. Yesterday, we did my weekly, I do one in Suntree every other week where my office is. And now we just brought on a broker in Titusville. So we're going to start doing them in Titusville because I want to build up Titusville and Daytona area. So yesterday we had about 8 people, which is I think my smallest one I've had. There were 2 non-EXP agents there. The broker that just joined the day before, and another girl that joined last week. And I'm always encouraging my leaders to show up to these because they need to learn how to present. I can't do every single one of these every single week. So I've got to have replacement people doing it. I'm not doing a great job of that, by the way, but I'm working on it. So far my general is about 50% of the agents that show up that are non-EXP join. But it's all in the follow-up. So if I don't follow up afterwards, they don't. So for instance, I had a guy came 2 months ago to one of my lunch and learns. And now thanks, Greg. Now he is just emailed me yesterday. I emailed him, and he emailed me back that he should be able to come on next week. But I stayed in touch with him. After he came, I sent him an email. One of the things I've learned too about lunch and learns, and we'll get into that for a few seconds here, is I get everybody's card, and I say what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a guest pass to the EXP world, because during my lunch I do a presentation on that, and so if I do that, I want you to take a look. But now I have their card, I have their contact info, and I can do my follow-up. Hey, did you go in the world? Did you check it out? It gives me a reason to contact them again. And that's really helped a lot in it. But really, the challenge I have is I'm not following up people that I didn't invite, and my agents don't follow up. I know that they're just like internet leads. They don't follow up the people they talk to. You have to follow up. Some people are going to join today. Some people are not going to join for a month, right? That's just the reality, right? Don't you hate that, Tannen? Some people, yeah.
Bobby Andrews here. Can I make a couple of comments on what you just said? We've been doing lunch and learns about every other week. And what you're saying about the 50% and all is pretty much right on. I'm just finding out that even though maybe they don't come this week, I try to get a commitment for them for the next one coming up in 2 weeks. And our goal here is really to try to start doing them almost weekly.
Yep.
you can't wait till the last couple of days. You've got to start early and work on them. And I love the scripts about, understand you're busy and all that.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know what you're saying no to, and that has gotten a second look from several.
Yeah.
The other thing I've been doing is going to open houses. And I wear my EXP badge. I do not bring anything up about EXP, but if I can do 6 to 8 open houses on a Sunday, at least 2 of them are going to say, "What is this at EXP?" And that's when I just lead into my little scripts and, "Hey, by the way, I'm having a lunch and learn this week, and love to have you come." And the other important thing is, if you get them there, you got to set up the follow-up appointment at that lunch and learn. You can't wait and then chase them down after the fact, because you're not going to have much success.
Yeah, one of the things that you'll hear from everybody is you have to set the next action item. So if you don't set the next action, it's really easy once they leave to never answer your phone call again, never answer your emails again. And I've had several of those people. So I try to do that. And when I'm setting them up in the world and taking their cards, say, "Great, I'm going to set this up. I'll get you the link today, and I'll give you a shout the next day or two to do it." Or we set up a one-on-one meeting. So depending on who it is, will depend on how much I set up a one-on-one afterwards. Because not everybody that comes to my lunch and learns I want to join. Right? I mean, I don't want to babysit anymore. I did that for years. Right? I want people that really want to embrace this and get into it. And by the way, I'm just talking about as a realtor. I don't really care about the attraction part. Of course, I want that part, but I really care about, as a realtor, I want to work with people that want to be successful. So when I'm doing my lunch and learns, if I find someone that's different, I'll say, "Hey, Bill, can I talk to you for a second after the event?" Almost everybody stays after the event for a little bit. So I do a 30-minute presentation, and then I usually have about 30 minutes where people are asking me questions. So on a side note, and depending who they are, like I have a girl from Caldwell Baker who came about a month ago, and she's coming back from vacation this week, and we're meeting next week, and we set that appointment up the day of the event so she can come in and talk about switching over and handling the objections about brand and all that stuff. And I call it franchise prison. That's a whole nother class. But ideally, it's still going to come down to your follow-up and creating a list. So here's the other thing that I'll leave you on, which I know we went off of scripts, but we're talking about lunch and learns right now. Let's talk about that a little more. You've got to create a database. Right, and that's what we talked about a little bit last year about using a CRM or something. And I don't care if you're using a spreadsheet; it doesn't matter to me. You got to create a database, because if you don't create a database, you don't know who you're following up with. And so I think my database is about 250 agents right now, of people that I've either talked to, or they've showed up to a lunch and learn and didn't join, or showed up to signed up for a lunch and learn and didn't come. And I just keep building that database, because little by little, they come. Us here right now is completely different than it was 2 years ago when I first joined. Now everybody knows us, and everybody's curious to what Bob said. I wear EXP polo shirts. I don't like to wear badges, so I wear my EXP shirts when I'm out not working. And even last night, I'll give you an example. Last night I went out for a drink at Bonefish, had a bite to eat, and the girl next to me was a realtor. I had my EXP shirt on. He's like, "Oh, you with EXP? I've been hearing all about you. What's your name?" And I said, "Mitch." He goes, "Oh, you're Mitch. That's all I hear about is Mitch." But the point is I have a meeting with her next week, just from sitting there. I've probably had 3 of my directs right now are from sitting in a bar having a drink, right? Because I wear my EXP shirt, and people ask me questions. So you got to get out there. Oh, I love the open house thing, Bob. That's one of my favorite things, is going to open houses. And again, it starts the conversation. They will ask you. People ask you, "How do you like EXP?"
Absolutely. And, somebody told me years ago, they said that they wore a logo shirt or a badge everywhere they went. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Everywhere?" He said, "Yeah, you don't want to be a secret agent, do you?"
Right.
So you got to have something that will get the conversation started. And one other quick point, and I'll shut my mouth. When you're trying to have a lunch and learn or an event of some sort, I think it's really important to reach out to your group, not just send an email or a text. You do that, but then reach out individually and invite them and follow up with them to make sure that you're teaching them to do what you do. And we're just really kind of scratching the surface right now, but started doing some things that I think will pay off in the long run, like talk to 2 agents a day.
That's
and
huge.
It's not that hard.
Nope.
You just have, like Gene Frederick says, you got to have the right habits.
Yep. It's all about habits, right? And that's the thing is, you know, if you're going to do lunch and learns, you got to be consistent. You're going to have days where nobody shows up. That's just the reality. That's why it's so important to me. Like I had one a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember which one. And I had 10 people in the room. They were all EXP. I didn't have one prospect show up. Didn't matter. I did my entire presentation and got it down. Then after that, we opened up the Q&A for my agents on how do I handle, so like we're doing, you know, how do you handle this objection? How do you handle that? And what I'm finding with most of my agents, and I have I'm doing a local version of this for my local agents, right? Helping them, and I have about 10 people on that group. And, you know, most of them aren't doing it, and most of them are trying to sell EXP without watching a video, without doing the third call, without talking to me, the whole works, and they're failing at it miserably. The ones that have brought people in to see me join. Not because I'm that awesome, it's because the system works right. I mean, I am that awesome, but the system works right. If you follow the system, it works. So a lot of people are trying to do this without the third-party verification, or what do they call the thing? It's so important, because if you sit there and try to verbally tell somebody how to do this, it's so hard, because there's too many cool functions. So I'm going to actually video one of my lunch and learns coming up, and I'll play that. One of our meetings will just be that, so you can see it. I won't put the audience; it'll just be me doing the presentation. I mean, I'll have my thing there because I have to do things live because it's more fun to me. And you'll find that a lot of the stuff I try to do with every slide, I try to add a story. I don't want to sit there and I'm not going to sit there and read slides. It's not my nature. If you ever see me speak in public, I have slides. That's just a guide point for me. But the majority of my stuff is I try to put a story to every slide that I know will be relatable to the people in the room. For instance, if I know somebody's, because I check every person where they're from, where they're coming. Like I knew on yesterday's, I had one person from Weichert and one person from an independent. So when I was going through my conversation about franchises, I was pointing to, some agents, whether from Weichert or Coldwell Banker, I throw that in. And now they relate to it immediately because that's what they are. And when I talk about, building that franchise's business instead of their own business, they kind of go, oh yeah, that makes sense. They relate to that, right? So there's a lot of, behind the scenes prep I do when I'm doing my lunch and learns to make sure I know who's going to be there. Now, there's people that show up sometimes that I don't know are coming because they didn't register. Can't do much about that. But if I can know what a couple of people are doing or who they are, I can relate to that. Make sense? Okay. Any other comments, questions, issues? I'm doing a hair growth thing soon on how to grow your hair back. Kidding. All right. Well, thanks for being here today. I appreciate it. I will get this out to everybody as soon as it downloads, and I'll send along the PowerPoint presentation with it. And I'll send along that spreadsheet that shows you the stock breakdown, which I love, at the same time. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mitch.
Bye-bye.